welcome to Thoughts with Thoughts. I always confuse the pronunciation, but I'm gonna keep the comment tab open. I'm trying to get my best friend wants to join. But he doesn't know how to get on. He said to go be a star. Okay. So I don't know if people are in here yet. Perfect. Somebody said hello. Great. So today I want to talk about kind of purity culture, and I'm going to do I actually filmed the YouTube video already. It'll be up shortly in the next couple of days. And I did a whole long YouTube video on sex and morality and sex work and morality. It was actually one of the first streams that I did back when Lana was still on the podcast. I hope to have her on again soon because she's the best. But I know back then a lot of people didn't see it. It was literally the first podcast I did. And I kind of want to bring that up again and also see what you guys think about it and kind of get go through that same topic in a discussion format instead of just a YouTube video. I talked about it a few days ago on TikTok Live before I was banned. Again, we're just getting banned weekly on TikTok. No big deal. But we have other accounts. So, and you guys should also follow my new TikTok account where I'm just doing talking videos, kind of doing short form content about regarding a lot of the topics that I usually cover here. So you can follow me on IG. I need to add it to my link that I have on IG, that one TikTok account. So yeah, let's get started. Thank you. So this was kind of something I want to talk about. One, because of the YouTube video I made, and then two, because I don't know if Rex is in here, but Rex is Red Dragon Knight. Welcome. I recognize your name. Rex has started a TikTok where he was kind of talking about this stuff too. And I love many of you, but Rex is my favorite subscriber. Here he is, Hazard Stint. Who's also Rex. Actually don't know if that's his real name. I don't know. But we were kind of talking about it and we go back and forth on it a lot. And he did a TikTok on it and it really tied in with the YouTube video I made. So I thought it would be a good topic to discuss. So sex work and purity culture and morality. So I feel first we need to talk about morality in general, right? Where do people get their morals? Where do you get your morals? Let me know. But for a lot of people, they feel they need to have some objective morality, what is right and what is wrong. It needs to be spelled out for them. And then the problem becomes, okay, well, who spells this out? And for a lot of people, obviously it needs to be somebody that they feel has the authority to spell it out. It can't just be, me, you, whoever. And so they turn to God and religion, right? A deity, the creator of the universe, somebody that we should be following and spending our lives obeying and serving. And that's where we get scripture from. And I think purity culture is definitely deeply embedded in at least the main monotheistic religions that we have now. Maybe not so much ancient, the Vikings and the Greeks and their gods. Their gods were more sex positive, it seems. Let me know if you agree. But the main religions we have now, and that doesn't mean that everybody who's religious or everybody who's a Christian or everybody who's a Muslim is a proponent of purity culture, but we're talking about morals in general and where people get this idea that sex outside of marriage is wrong or having an OnlyFans is wrong, and where they draw the line. A lot of that comes from this objective morality that they get from scripture. And with that, you're kind of intellectually restrained, right? It's right because it's right. It's right because it says it in the Bible that you should be modest. It says in the Bible that you should only have sex in this setting. And that's the end of discussion. We've talked about logical fallacies before, but that is not only circular reasoning because it's true, it's good because it's good. You kind of run into the Euthyphro dilemma. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that, but it's in Plato's 5 Dialogues. And the Euthyphro dilemma, for those of you who don't know, so Plato usually talks through dialogue with Socrates, like, right, he uses Socrates, and he uses Socrates as like a tool to engage in dialogue. And in the Euthyphro dilemma, he asks him, what is good? And Euthyphro says, whatever the gods like is good. And then Socrates says, so are things good because the gods like it, or do the gods like things that are good, right? So are things good because the gods, you see what I'm saying? Like, is what's good because the gods determine it's good, or do the gods like things that are good because they are good? And obviously you don't want it to be that things are good just because the gods like them, because that runs into the problem that the gods can just pick what's good and what's not good, and it's kind of just have an arbitrary standard and they just make shit up. So then you have to say, well, no, things are gods like things that are good because they're good, but then that means that they must be good independent of God, right? That means that there's something that makes them good before the gods like them, right? Because the gods like things that are good because they're good. So what is it that makes things good? So that's something that I recently read that I hadn't read before. I was like, oh, and I had heard of the Euthyphro dilemma before, but I hadn't like really read it. And so for a lot of religious people, I think that they read this and then they justify it after the fact. Oh, okay, this makes sense. Or, this is why this is a principle that I want to live by. But for a lot of other people like myself, people who don't believe in religion, people who are atheists, whatever, where do we get our morality, right? Because we don't have a book. We don't have somebody that does our thinking for us when it comes to morals and ethical principles. And so morality for us is something that's constantly developing. It needs to be questioned. It needs to be debated. It needs to be based on humanist principles or something outside of scripture. And I think this is the case for, just overall society, right? Because scripture has been the same for a very long time, yet our morals as a society has changed with regards to things like slavery, homosexuality, women's rights, etc. And so even people that are religious, they may have interpreted their script one way forever ago, but now they interpret their script in a different way to kind of align with their values that they get from being in greater society. No, it hasn't. What? Unit 1274 says no, it hasn't. I don't know what he's talking about. So I think morality in general is constantly developing, whether you are religious or not. And so I was thinking when I was trying to make that video on morals and sex work and modesty, okay, well, if you're not just going to jump to an appeal to an authority, if you're not just going to say my God said so, right? Because then it's like, which God, blah, blah, blah. It just runs into a bunch of other issues. And then you're kind of restrained because it's a fallacy to just point to an authority. Somebody said, you don't have to be a religious person to live a moral life. And I do not know of any Christian claiming that, but I think the religious idea is that it's hard to justify why to have a good morality if there is no God. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? So that's what they say. They're like, oh, well, we need somebody to kind of be the like Supreme Court of morality, basically, the end all be all. And so we pick God, and then you pick your God, and I guess you just assume that your God is the right God, because not all religions say the same thing. And especially if you're looking at religion overall in the past, there's been over 10,000 and they all say slightly different things. So morality is actually embedded in us as human beings, not just in human beings, but in other species too. It is part of your evolutionary makeup to feel things like empathy, etc., right? Religion kind of gives you this like guise of everything good in you comes from God, and everything bad in you, the bad tendencies you have, jealousy, rage, lust, etc., is bad, and that comes from something else. But all the good things part of you, kindness, empathy, comes from God. It comes from evolution. As a human race, we have been more successful. We have a greater chance of reproduction and survival when we work together, and when we're in this collaboration, and when we engage in the social contract. Okay, I don't want my thing stolen, so you don't. So, the religious books were written by Christ, so that's who laid the moral standard. So if you follow Christianity, If you follow Islam, then it's different. If you follow Jainism, it's different. And the main problem with all this is that there's no evidence to support any of these religions. And so that creates a problem for I would say at this point, probably at least 1 billion people who don't believe in religion, or who maybe are believe in a God, but they don't subscribe to a particular religion. So we come from nothing. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to make this a debate on religion, but I will address this. So this is another fallacy that a lot of religious people use. They say, well, you can't explain an alternative, therefore we're right. But no, the truth is there's no evidence supporting anything like how we came here. So you just made something up, or you jumped to something. And that's what faith is, right? Faith is the belief in something without evidence. We don't say, do you have faith in gravity? Like, no, you don't need faith to believe in gravity. And so my answer is, I don't know. Your answer is, you do know. And so I say, well, why do you know? The burden of proof is on you, and you don't have evidence to support what you're saying, which is fine. I'm not here to tell people not to be religious. I'm just here to talk about sex and morality as a whole. So I think that one thing we have to do from jump is move it from having it be immoral because religion said so. That's just a weak argument, and it's a flat argument, and it doesn't go anywhere, especially if the person you're telling it to, like me, is like, well, I don't believe in your religion, so that's the end, you know? And so I was trying to think of reasons why somebody would, you're speaking pure facts right now. Thank you. So I was trying to think of reasons that don't immediately depend on an appeal to an authority, even though they may have an underlying principle that does. So if someone says, oh, well, sex work is immoral because sex is sacred and should only be done in this context. And I say, why? And they're like, oh, because, and then why? Eventually you hit a wall like, well, because my religion said so, or because God said in this verse this. Okay, then we're at the same place. So I'm trying to think of reasons that people think sex is immoral, or why purity culture is good, that don't immediately just jump to that very weak argument. And so I think there's two categories that I kind of put things under. And I go through this. This is literally what my YouTube video is about, but I want to talk about it here because I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. And so the first is it's destructive to society. And the second is that it's destructive to self. Like, it's destructive to the person that's doing it. Therefore it's bad. It's immoral. We ask ourselves what we want our daughter or son doing sex work. Well, if not, why not? I just want my son or daughter to be happy. And if they're a consenting adult and they choose to do what I'm doing, I'm happier this way. So it's no problem. If you don't want, I don't want my son or daughter to be working a minimum wage job, working crazy hours and barely able to get by. I don't want my son or daughter doing anything that they're not happy doing and it isn't good for them. So if you want to make the argument sex work isn't good for them, that's great. But then why? See, I'm going to push you guys. That's the thing. You can't just yell out a narrative that everybody yells out. My whole goal with this is to force you guys to think critically and to get past these layers of, because God said so, because I don't want, I just don't like it. You know, you have to go through. So these comments are nuts. I know the comments are the best. That's why I do this. You're a prostitute. Okay. So why is being a prostitute bad? So I talk about this in my video, that the first time I heard the word slut, I was like in elementary school. And nobody said it to me, but I heard the word. I didn't know what it meant. So being the little intellectually curious Jazmen I went and looked up in a dictionary. I said, a woman who has many casual partners or something. I was like, okay, I guess that's bad. And since I was like 9, that was the end of it. Now, for so many people, they take what they hear when they're 9. And sometimes this means religion. A lot of people stick with the religion they're born into, and then they just keep it the rest of their lives without thinking about it and without being skeptical. And I'm a big believer in skepticism and critical thinking. And so for me, I'm like, no, I'm not just going to take things because other people said it. I'm going to think about them. And so that's kind of what I am. So much of religious morality is based in controlling the masses. Don't do bad things and you'll be rewarded when you're dead. Can we make sure the comments get up here? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Exactly, when you're dead. That's the best part of it. I don't want to talk about religion, but religion is very convenient, right? It's very appealing. It's very convenient. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, right? Like, when I die, I'm going to be reunited with my dead grandma and everything's going to be great, and it makes people want to believe it. And the more you want to believe something, the more you should be skeptical of believing in things. That's my philosophy. But okay, let's start with the first argument. It is bad for society. And I think one little immediate thing that we see people doing, especially conservative people, and they're doing this right now with marriage, the Respect for Marriage Act. They're like, no, marriage should be between a man and a woman because that's how it's been for all of history. So that's called an appeal to tradition. It's an appeal to tradition fallacy. And it's a very weak one because, like, you could have said that with anything. You could have said that with, if when slavery, when the first, the movement, anti-slavery movement started, the people that were pro-slavery could have been like, well, this is how it's always been, so it's better, right? When people wanted to end racial segregation, somebody could come and say, well, people have been racially segregated. That's just the way it is. Let's keep it. Or when women wanted to vote, well, women couldn't ever vote before, so why do it now? So it's just a very stupid argument. It's probably like the dumbest argument out of all of these, and there are a lot of dumb ones. And then the second thing I think that falls under that is it threatens monogamy and it threatens the nuclear family unit. And for everybody, we have to protect it, right? And then you run into the problem of talking about destruction of society. I will say that not having both parents can be bad. To clarify, I understand that some parents can cause more harm than good, but in an ideal situation, both loved parents are. Yeah, but I don't know what this has to do with sex work. I have both parents in my life. And I'm a sex worker. I don't have daddy issues. I don't have any trauma from childhood. I think this is a narrative that a lot of people use, like, oh, well, like, if you're doing this, that means you don't have a father. Why? I have a father and I'm doing this. Now what? Have you always had this mindset on religion, or did you believe once? And at what age did you become interested in researching religion, or was it a certain event in your life that sparked your curiosity? I've always been intellectually curious. I didn't grow up religious. I grew up, my parents believed in God, but like, it was just like, oh, don't do bad things because God doesn't like it, or, be good because of God. And like, as soon as I was old enough to think, I was like, yeah, this God thing is kind of weird. And why do we believe in this? Who said so? And so I was questioning from a young age. And then when I was like college age, I started really deep diving, researching, and I became like a hardcore atheist. And from then on, I've softened my stance in the sense that I used to I thought religion was just bad for everybody. Now I think it's helps a lot of people. It's a good coping mechanism. I think it's embedded in us through like we almost have a religious gene, and I think it can be beneficial for people even if it's not true. So I'm like, let people believe what they want to believe. And so anyway, so this argument that it is destructive to the nuclear family, which first of all rests on the assumption that nuclear family is good for everybody, right? Like everybody should be striving for this. This is a value that we need to protect in society. Then the question becomes, how far as a society do we go to protect it? Do we infringe on people's rights to protect it? Do we force everybody to believe what we believe? And this is what some countries do. I'm from Iran. We see what's happening in Iran. That's what they're doing. All these draconian laws that the government puts in place they're like, oh, okay, we need to protect the family unit. Women should only show themselves to their husband. Let's not incite lust in society. Lust makes men not able to control themselves, and that's a problem. So everybody we're going to force you basically to be monogamous by trying to eliminate any other options by force. And I think in other countries here, some people try to do it through culture, right? This is where purity culture comes from. Like, okay, no, it's not illegal, but you're going to go to hell if you're religious, or even if you're not, it's just, we're going to shame you, don't show your body off. You're creating lust in society. And I think another aspect of it is lust is something that is natural. Sex is natural. And men, when they have that lust incited in them and they feel shame with sex and they feel shame surrounding it, they get angry because they feel like they're not in control, and then they blame, like, you turned me on and that's your problem, that's not my problem. And they project that anger they feel towards themselves, which they shouldn't feel, but they feel it because of religion or culture or whatever, and they project it onto us because we're actual human beings, right? I make this analogy in my video where it's like, okay, if you're an alcoholic or you have an issue with food, you're not going to like pick up the bottle and be like, you just look too good and you shouldn't have incited my desire to drink you, right? Because it's like you look crazy. But to us, it's like, no, you consciously chose to put yourself out there like this. I'm negatively affected by it because I'm a human being. So it's your fault. It's not my fault. And that internal struggle and that cognitive dissonance that they feel then gets projected onto us. And that becomes the shaming, slut, whore. Let's try to repress women. Let's try to make sure they don't incite lust because we feel powerless in front of lust. Okay, let me read some of these comments. Okay, I'm going to try not to do the clicking thing. Some people would say sex work is more barbaric or animalistic compared to what? And we are animals. And so I think there are certain animal traits in us that are negative, but is sex one of those? Is sex negative? Like eating is an animalistic drive you have. Is eating barbaric or animalistic? You know, eating, sleeping, all of these are animal primitive desires, yet sex is the one that's like bad, taboo. And it depends on your culture, right? In America, we're like, oh, those people in Iran are crazy. Like a woman showing her shoulders, that's not going to incite lust. But OnlyFans, that's where the line is. Why? Because I said so. I just said so. In Europe, they're far more free than us. And if you've been to Europe, if you've been to a beach in Europe, there are women just laying topless on the beach. You don't have to go to a nude beach to see it. And they think we're very uptight about sex. And they're like, what's wrong with these Americans, right? Any line that you draw, which is like, this is now threatening society and this is not threatening society, it's just arbitrary. And it depends on where you are, where you live, who you are. I mean, even in our own country, that's why we have a culture war, right? Because some people, as society is becoming more accepting towards sex, there are people that are like, no, I don't want it. I don't think this is good for us, right? But nobody really has a clear line to draw, and any line we do draw just based off our own whims. Now the difference is they're not. The problem with purity culture and like shaming people for sex is that it's one way. It's usually going one way. I never go up to somebody who doesn't have an OnlyFans and I'm like, you're immoral for not having an OnlyFans. You should start an OnlyFans. Or I don't go to somebody who's deciding to not have sex till marriage and be like, you are immoral for this, right? They're usually the ones that comment on my stuff that I'm immoral. They're the ones that tell me not to have an OnlyFans. So it is a very weird, it's not like an equal thing. Yes, maybe there's like very fringe like people that are like, you should be out and having sex and you're a loser if you're not, and you're a loser if you don't have OnlyFans, but like not really. Most of it's like people telling us that what we're doing is wrong when we're just like, do whatever you want. There's no one size fits all. Women are happy doing all kinds of different things. And I think this is the issue with the anti-sex work feminism is like, it's the same. I make the parallel to women feminists who say like, oh, we fought for your right to go to work. So if you want to stay home with your family, there's something wrong with you. No, you fought for women's right to go to work. So we would have the choice on whether or not to go to work. So feminists who say we fought to not be looked at for our bodies. So you now have to stay at a job that you hate when you want to be a sex worker because we fought for you to go to work and not be looked at for your body. No, you fought for my choice and now I can make a different choice. Right? Let me see what these comments say. Many religious books were written by fairly primitive desert scribes. They contain interesting stories but are not legit. Yeah, I agree with you, but a lot of people would disagree with this, and that would just start a debate on religion, which I love doing, but I want to try to keep this semi on topic, and I do have to leave in like 15 minutes to go pick up my dad. Would you say it's a good representation for kids? No one would pose that to a kid, so why an adult? Okay, this is one of the topics I wanted to get at. So then there's the argument, it's bad, it's immoral because it's bad for kids. So then the question is, do we not have anything that's okay for adults that's not okay for kids? Like a rated R movie. Should all our movies be kid appropriate? Should Netflix not have rated R movies because a kid could watch them, right? Should we not have casinos? Should we not have alcohol because people underage drink all the time, right? No, because the world doesn't need to be kid proof. I agree. This is not something for children, but there's two arguments here. One is that doesn't mean that adults can't do things that are just for adults because kids are in the world. If that's your argument, then you have to cut out everything that isn't kid. We have to make, it's not, we don't have to, put, it's like making people who don't even have kids put like the little railway on their stairs to make sure kids don't, like that. Is that how you think society should be structured? And two, it's not practical. There's no way we can get rid of it. Like, it's the age of the internet. Even if you ban porn, people will still find it. I have so many subscribers from countries where OnlyFans is banned and they just get VPN and they find it. So it's not even a practical solution. Education is the only practical solution here as it pertains to kids. And just because you don't recommend something to kids doesn't mean that that should be the reason that people as adults can't enjoy something that's for adults. There are plenty of jobs that aren't for kids. So not a good argument in my eyes either, but I want to hear what you think. If you are only moral because you think you are being judged by a higher power, are you acting out of your own goodness or fear of punishment? Yeah, this is an argument people make all the time too. I think if you're doing things because you're scared you're going to go into an internal hellfire, and then there's somebody else who's doing it when they don't have that fear, I have more respect for the person that's doing it out of the goodness of their heart rather than fearing that they're going to die in an internal hellfire. But porn stars have a shorter life expectancy than soldiers in war. Unbelievable, but it's true. I would want to double check that statistic. Maybe you're talking about sex workers and like prostitutes because they're doing something very dangerous, which I agree with. And I think there's a lot of issues with that. And part of that is the stigma and the fact that it's not legal, because in countries where it is legal, New Zealand is a good example, those crimes and those deaths for prostitutes have gone down because these women can actually get help. In our country, these women don't go to the police because the police aren't going to help them because of the stigma surrounding sex work. So, but I don't even know if that statistic is true. But if it is, I would want to look at maybe reasons why. And you're also going to our second point, which is that, sex work is immoral because it's somehow bad for you, which we'll get to. Let me go down. But some would say these are degenerate things, even if it's called adult. Okay, so why is it degenerate? What's wrong with it? You can't just say, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to be like, well, why? You can't be like, it's bad because people say it's bad. What kind of argument is that? It's bad because some people say it's bad. Some people say it's degenerate. That's my argument. Some people say that. Well, okay, that's not a good argument. Some people say, pizza's gross. So like what? It's really surprised at how articulate and well-informed you are. You make really legitimate points. Ultimately, things are not right or wrong because that's always subjective. We should instead think of things as healthy or destructive. So I'm kind of making morality kind of synonymous with healthy or destructive, because without making it good or bad, which you can't really make it good or bad without pointing to why it's good or bad, without pointing to somebody just saying it's good or bad, you have to kind of make another argument is, okay, this is moral because X. And so you're putting it's moral because it's healthy, or it's immoral because it's not healthy. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's immoral because it's destructive to society. It's immoral because it incites lust. And when it incites lust, it anger, men, and like, I don't know, sounds like a you problem to me, but okay. Thank you for that comment. Wanted to hear about what you would have to say if porn does more good than bad, vice versa. I did a whole stream on porn. It's on the Thoughts for Thoughts YouTube. If the moderator wants to put up the channel, that's the Gmail for it. But you could put up the YouTube. Yeah, there we go. Thoughts with Thoughts. I have a whole thing on that. Do you think prostitution should be legal pretty much as a service exchange for payment? Yeah, I think prostitution should be legal. I don't think the government should tell you what you can and can't do with your body as long as you are a consenting adult. In a court of law, the jury has the last say, right? Does the majority of society frown upon sex work or praise it? No, in a court of law, the jury has the last say based on the laws of society. So like a jury can't be like, we're going to prosecute you because you you had chocolate ice cream and we like vanilla. Like, you have to follow the law. The jury just says whether you're guilty or not based off what the law is. So that's not. And if you want to go by what the majority of society says, and that's how you get your morality from, then depending on where you are and what decade and what era you're in, your morality is going to be pretty shaky. If you were in the South during pro-slavery era and people were like, well, the majority of people think having slaves is okay. So that, like, you're not making good arguments, but you're free to try to make more. it's an addiction and that's never healthy. It's actually porn addiction. Look it up. It only affects like 4, maximum is like 8% of people. So it's heavily overblown. And that's like saying drinking. A lot of people, if you have a predisposition to alcoholism, you should not drink because you could be an alcoholic. It's just a very weak point, because, you know, that people can also engage with porn in a healthy way. People can engage with gambling in a healthy way, and some people can't. And that doesn't make it bad as a whole. It just, there's some nuance to it. Are we referring to purity as a system lifestyle of restraint and minimalism? We're talking about sexual desires. The other one is going to be a whole, that I don't have time to go into that. In some states, abortion is illegal. I wouldn't be surprised if they made prostitution legal and just regulated it. I think they should. If you didn't doubt its morality, then why are we discussing it? I don't doubt its morality, but a lot of people doubt its morality, or people doubt its morality, so we're discussing it. That's like saying, well, if you didn't doubt the morality of not letting women to vote, why are you arguing why people don't think women should vote and why they're wrong? Sorry. Okay. Do you gamble? I've never even like used the slot machine. No. But I know people that do, and that's one activity that's meant for adults that can be abused, et cetera, et cetera. But people don't think, a lot of people don't think that like people who own casinos are immoral the way that they think sex workers are. So, you know, and then the argument is it's destructive to self. And one very paternalistic argument completely overrides personal autonomy. You know, people making the decisions that they want to make with their own bodies. And it's kind of telling people that, oh, because it's bad for you, it's wrong, and we know what's good for you. So there's that whole problem. The second problem is that we don't say this about many other jobs that aren't good for people or that people aren't happy in, right? There are plenty of jobs that aren't conducive to human I would say any job, especially in capitalist society where people are being exploited and working crazy hours and barely getting by. That's not good for you. If you're working at a dangerous construction site, that's not good for you. And people don't say those jobs are therefore immoral. And, you know, being a lawyer, lawyers have really high rates of substance abuse issues, depression, suicide, etc. Nobody, when I was a lawyer, was like, what you're doing is immoral. So it's also a weak argument that, oh, these girls, we need to save them. They need to save them because they're poor girls. They're doing something so terrible for themselves. It's like, why? And people that are doing other kinds of jobs that aren't good for them, you're not saying the same thing about them. So what is unique about sex work? And that is what I'm trying to get at. Take your God out of it. You tell me why sex and sex work is unique by default. What is it about sex work? Some people are like, oh, you're objectifying yourself. Okay, how? What are you doing? Is it because it's right? Because if you're a singer, you're objectifying your voice. If you're an athlete, you're objectifying your body for entertainment. You're objectifying, you're using your body for labor in many other ways. But sex is separate, it's sacred, it's special. Well, why? And then it just becomes this why, and then we hit a wall. And I'm trying to see if anyone can move past that wall of, okay, why? What's special about sex? Why is sex exploiting yourself, but being an athlete or being a soldier where you're like giving your body up to do something else, why is that different? Some people are like, well, because you're a soldier, you're sacrificing your body for good. Debatable. And then you can make the argument sex workers are too, right? Because it's a female-dominated industry that many men don't feel like they have control over and try to shame them into giving them control. I think this is definitely the root of it, at least some part of it, but a lot of people aren't going to make this argument. So I'm trying to, instead of us making the argument, because like you, I have many theories, and this is definitely one of them, I'm trying to hear from them. You explain to me what's wrong with sex work. And, you know, some people, that's why I want to see these comments, and I want to see, okay, what are some of the reasons that you guys are giving me? And can you really give me an argument that I don't have a good response to as to what is special about sex work, right? or what is different about it, right? And people treat it very differently. I got a comment on TikTok, Hazard didn't reply to it, where someone's like, yo, now you're addicted to instant gratification. And I'm like, I did a response video, I haven't posted yet, but I'm like, do you guys post this on athletes pages? And if it's fast money, now you guys have a problem with sex work because it's fast money, and now you're so worried that I'm addicted to instant gratification. So if I go on an NBA player's comments, nobody's saying that. Nobody's like, oh, you're addicted to fast money now, because they have a short-term career too. They can't be an NBA player forever. They're getting fast money. So then the question is, why are you not posting that under their comment section? But all of us, we get that comment 24/7. We always get these comments and these narratives that you guys specifically direct at us, but you don't direct it in any other context or to any other people. Or the argument with kids. Nobody's asking for PG-13 movies to be removed because people under 13 may see them. Nobody's asking anymore for the prohibition of alcohol because children consume alcohol. But for some reason, for sex, it's like, no, because children see porn, or it's influencing children to see porn. Isn't adults drinking influencing children to drink? I mean, don't children drink all the time not children, but people under the age of 21? And everyone's like, we don't want to raise kids to be sex workers. Why not? We don't try to raise kids to not drink alcohol when they turn 21. We don't raise kids to not do adult activities when they turn into adults. But with sex work, it's like, no. And a lot of times that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion, where a lot of people are like, oh, this is a last resort. Women do this only because they have no other option, etc. They become like these scarlet letters in like society, and they have like the scarlet letter on them. And it's just like, and then a lot of women, when they do get into this work, they're like, oh, that's why I do it, or I have no other option but to do it. And they think of it as something very negative. Do you know how often I hear, oh, why do you have an OnlyFans? You don't need one. You had a good job, or your parents have money. I'm like, nobody ever was like, when I was a lawyer, been like, you don't have to be a lawyer. Your parents have money. Like, it's not like you're going to be homeless. Like, it's like, and I just want to know why. I'm curious why. Let me go up a little bit. I don't have a ton more time. Because it's the thing that creates life. Okay, so, but that makes it good, not bad. If you're worried that too much life is going to be created, or that life is going to be created in contexts where it's not good, then wouldn't consuming online sex work? Nobody has gotten pregnant from watching, or from nobody's gotten me pregnant from watching my OnlyFans content, right? So I would think this kind of sex work would be more appreciated, but it's not. Personally, I think religion does have some benefits. Speaking from personal experience, my mother got prescribed antidepressants going through her divorce, but chose to keep her faith in God. Yeah, I don't deny that religion can be good for people, but I think all kinds of delusions. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think that, yeah, if I believed that I was gonna die and enter a world of fairyland, like that'd probably be good for me. Like I'd probably be happier if I thought every bad thing happened to me for a reason, and that all the wrongs would be justified. And religious people are happier, from what studies show. We're smarter, from what studies show, but they're happier. So I think it can be beneficial. But there's two questions with religion. One is it true? And whether it's true or not has nothing to do with whether it's beneficial or it's good for you to believe something. Truth is independent of how you feel about it. Truth is independent of whether it makes you feel warm or fuzzy inside or not. The second question could be, okay, is it good for people? Is it good or is it bad in the world? And then you can make arguments on both sides. Bad things happen because of religion. Good things happen because of religion. People make bad decisions based on their faith. People make good decisions based on their faith. Faith can motivate people to be very charitable, etc. Faith can motivate people to be very bigoted towards certain groups of people, or to engage in purity culture, have this shame surrounding sex, and that can have negative impacts on society. But none of those have anything to do with whether or not religion itself is true. And that's kind of not our topic for today. I think at the end of the day, it naturally doesn't make people feel good. It's not something that people praise. There's really no other way to explain it. I think sex makes people feel good. I think you're wrong. It literally gives you a serotonin boost. And if people didn't feel good having sex, they wouldn't have had sex for all of history, and you wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be here unless whoever had sex in order to create us didn't enjoy it, in which case that's really sad. I think athletes do a bit more work than OnlyFans girls. I think that's why no one says they have instant gratification issues. I think that's a good argument, except for the fact that a lot of it's not true that OnlyFans girls don't put in a lot of work, or there's plenty of OnlyFans girls. Like I think Amaranth is a good example. She makes like $1 million a month now off Twitch, but she talked about how she used to sometimes stream for 23 hours a day for like years before she got to where she is. So now that she's making $1 million a month, is she addicted to fast money? Is that what it is? Is it that, oh, you worked? And a lot of these athletes are naturally talented. And a lot of OnlyFans girls are naturally hot. So that idea that it's like a meritocracy and like you worked to be attractive and be on OnlyFans, or you worked, yeah, you may work to build your talent to make it in the NBA, but you had talent naturally. You may work really hard to build your brand as an OnlyFans model, but you looked attractive to people anyway. So I don't think that's a good enough argument. I guess sex workers versus athletes is interesting. They both provide entertainment, but porn can become addictive and psychologically destructive. That's mostly up to the consumer to control themselves. So yeah, but so can food. There are many people who have a unhealthy relationship. You can argue that a lot of America, we have a big issue of people that aren't healthy with what they eat. Yet you don't see people hating food or claiming food is immoral, et cetera, et cetera. There is something, and I'm going to be honest, I think it is that men don't like not being in control, and the thought of a woman having that control and inciting that lust that they don't want to feel, it makes them feel kind of powerless, and that bothers them. That's why you see a lot of people really upset with OnlyFans, because women are now in control and we're making all this money. And now it's like, oh, if you consume porn normally, that was fine. But if you support a sex worker, you're a simp. You're a simp. You're just giving these women what they want, blah, blah, blah. Even though men have been paying for pussy since the beginning of time. When you took the girl out on a date and you paid for her dinner and you paid $100 for this and then you took her to a movie, you could have paid $7 and seen my fucking whole body on OnlyFans. But that makes you a simp, right? Men get this kind of threat when it's like women have it easy and they're making me want them. And then there's the added factor, they're making me want them, but they don't necessarily maybe want me. They're just trying to use me. They're exploiting my need for sex, even though a restaurant's exploiting your need to eat. Any product or service you buy is exploiting your need for that service or your desire for that service, right? But it's something in, I think, men that makes them very angry. And then women also, because it also threatens that sense of monogamy. Women sort of feel like that we're violating like the contract, where it's like, okay, we're going to all be pure and we're all going to be whatever. And then it's like, no, you can't be naked and show my boyfriend. Like my boyfriend can't see you naked online because that threatens me. He might want you and he should only want me. And so that's, I think, where it comes from women. And then men, it comes kind of from a different place. Oh, sorry. Have you ever done a sober stream? I've been sober every stream, unfortunately. The only valid point I ever hear of is that many don't have a plan for after their value as a sex worker has lessened. I feel like that's the case with a lot of industries, but I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Us OnlyFans girls, or some OnlyFans girls, I mean, people making, and yeah, I know not everybody's making this, but people tell me this, what are you going to do in 10 years? I'm like, I make what I made in a year, in a month, and I keep making more and more in that. In 1 year on OnlyFans, I make more than I would have made 12 years in the industry. 2 years, 24 years. And I'm going up and up and up. So it's like, it's kind of telling like an athlete, well, what are you going to do when you no longer are an NBA player? What are you going to do when you retire? It's like, don't worry. We have enough money, if we're smart with it. Okay. Yeah, even athletes at college level have an insane workload and they've gotten nothing up until recently. So are you saying that sex workers, because they don't have that, there's a problem? So I'm a lawyer, and people think, oh, lawyers work so hard. You work so hard and you got there, so that's okay. But you as Jazmen, as a sex worker, you were just born with a body that people, I guess, would pay to see. And that means that your value is lessened, right? Even though I always, like, sometimes the answer is just really simple. Like, it's like, why do you do sex work? Because I didn't want to fucking work a 9 to 5. It's like, why did you take them? Like, people have this idea that because I have a heart, do a job I don't like. It's a real job. But because your job I think, and I don't even necessarily say it's true, it's easier, that it's not a real job and there's less value to it. I think that's such a stupid, it's like saying, why then when you win the lottery, don't take it? Because what's really important is that you worked hard for the money. And if you just win the lottery, then, I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of an argument people make, I think, when they don't have, like, an argument people make out of, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Nietzsche's slave morality kind of thing he talks about, where it's like some people's morality is just based because in opposition to the things they want and they can't have. I think it's one of those things kind of when it comes to this. It's like, oh, no. Your life must not be meaningful because you got it the easy way, right? You got it the easy way. You showed off your body. I did it the hard way. And because we're both at the same place, it makes me feel better to say, you're not happy. There's going to be some bad karma for you. And I'm really happy. When it's like, why? I don't know how happy you are. I guess I kind of know how happy I am. I'm doing fine. But you have to tell yourself that, no, you got there the easy way, the cheap way. So there's some negative consequence that either you feel or you're going to feel because of it. When it's not true, guys. Some people really, and this isn't like me saying this in relation to me, but we just have to accept some people just fucking have it easier. Some people just got lucky. Some people are born into billionaire families and some people aren't. And we love as a society when, oh, the billionaires are miserable. Like when Kim Kardashian gets robbed, oh, good for her. She gets a taste of blah, 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 like because we're jealous. And it doesn't make us feel good that some people got things without working for it. Because when people get things because they worked for it, it makes us feel like, okay, they earned it and I can do that too. When people have things handed to them, it doesn't make us feel good inside because we're like, it's not fair. And we're like babies, toddlers. Oh my God, it's not fair. I had to do work and they don't have to work. I have to do this and they don't have to do this. It's not a healthy way to live. And people who feel that way, people who they're not happy, right? Mark Zuckerberg is not like mad at people making money because he makes money. People who are successful and happy aren't mad at other people who are also successful and happy. Sorry, I'm like going on rants today. How do we remove this negative stigma of men who support / pay for porn? Do you think the stigma will go away or lessen? That's part of what I'm trying to do. The stigma of men who support and pay for porn is created by men who are trying to cope with their low status in society by shaming other men for this. Because the men who actually do well, they don't, even if they wouldn't personally do it, they don't shame other people for doing it because they don't care. I promise you, the men that are like writing simp at any time you comment to a woman, those are the same men that subscribe to my OnlyFans and then they hate themselves for it. Because there's a lot of them. And I noticed this. I even notice in countries where sex is more accepted, like in Europe, I see all the time that a lot of people, they'll come and they'll be just like, oh, hey, I'm Bert. Can you suck a dildo for me? And then you do it. And they're just like, okay, cool. Thank you. Had a great time. Bye. Have a wonderful day. They look at it as they're buying anything else. They're buying some fries, right? Even though they see, or they're paying somebody to come, mount their TV. They just think of it as a service. And they're like, you don't hate the person. You don't dehumanize the person that came and helped you, or your lawyer or your doctor, whoever you're getting a service from. But Americans or people from the Middle East or religious people who have this shame, it's like they get this service. They're like, hey, can you send me this video? And you're like, okay. And you send it. They're like, okay, thank you. Bye. Or then they do it and then they're like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. And then they're commenting on other men's posts like, you're a simp. And even though they consume the same, you have to think about every man that's commenting that somebody else is a simp for supporting this, their algorithm brought them to the same place you did. Like they are consuming the same content you are. They just hate themselves for it. So they're trying to lash out at you and police you. That's where that comes from. And I think the more we talk about it and the more like, I'm like, y'all pay, like, you know how many NBA players, whatever, that like will fly us out, pay thousands and thousands of dollars, blah, 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 to try to see us naked, when it's like, okay, you could have just paid blah, blah, blah and see it online. Men have literally paid for women and sex. And I think all men pay for sex in one way or another. Taking women out on dates, blah, 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 whining and dining women. Everybody pays for pussy. And the only people that are going to call other people simps about it are people who usually don't get pussy, just to be honest. Nothing is worse than communism. Okay, thank you for that comment. I didn't say they didn't work at all. I'm saying comparatively speaking, it's not even close. Why? Maybe physically? Are you talking about physically demanding? Are you talking about the hours they put in? Are you talking about maybe how they take care of their bodies? I mean, a lot of us girls that do this, I mean, I'm not good at this, but some of them, they have to look good all the time. They put in a lot of time, money, effort into upkeeping their bodies. They put in a lot of time streaming 23 hours a day, looking for ways to stand out from the competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sex workers work hard too. I'm not saying athletes don't, but to think that sex workers don't work hard, but athletes work hard, then, people say the same thing about just anything they don't like drug dealers. Like, oh my God, drug dealers are addicted to fast money. Some of these drug dealers literally had to work their way up to where they were. Now they're the kingpin, but they didn't get there right away. They went through a lot to get there. Some of them risked their lives. They're risking their lives daily to be there, It's also why you see a lot of men that are in relationships with OF women turn out to be incredibly manipulative and toxic. I think, I don't know if this is, I would need some, maybe there's anecdotal evidence for this that you have. I don't think that it's necessarily true from my anecdotal evidence, but maybe like a study on it would be good. But I think men in relationships with all kinds of women are manipulative and toxic. I think there may be something to the point that maybe women that do this work may have some additional issues. And like I said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of women don't choose this as their first resort because it's not accepted by society. So women that do end up choosing it as a last resort because they may have some other issues. And then those issues may be coming out in like the relationships and the kind of relationships they choose. But I don't think something about this kind of work would make people more likely to be in unhealthy relationships. Like I would love for a man to be manipulative and toxic to me. I would love it. I would just, please. Like, why does this shit never happen to me? Because I would love to put a motherfucker in their place. I've never dated a guy who has been manipulative or toxic or raised their voice at me. And sometimes I'm like, I fucking wish, because I want to go off on a motherfucker. And it doesn't happen to me, but that's because of me and the boundaries I put forth. Has nothing to do with my job. So I don't know if it's necessarily linked, although there may be a higher rate of it in this industry for those reasons. Paying for OnlyFans feels a lot more honest than taking women out on a date and having to lie and you're essentially saying you're naked. Yeah, and honestly, paying for OnlyFans is the safest way you can consume sex, especially all these anti-porn. Porn is child exploitation, or your human trafficking. Every person on OnlyFans is verified. We all consented. We have to sign a consent form. We're all over 18. Nothing you see on OnlyFans hasn't been approved. Anybody that I want to bring on my OnlyFans has to sign a consent form, has to go through the whole process of getting approved before they're allowed to be on my page. So there's a whole bunch of shit that goes on with before you are able to post on OnlyFans. So if you really want to be somebody that's supporting direct content creators and making sure that anything you're consuming is safe and doesn't have any unwilling participants or underage participants, the best and most safe way to consume porn is through OnlyFans, because you don't have that guarantee on Pornhub. We will see a lot of women end up in the same situations as pro athletes. What do you mean? What situation? I don't think sitting in front of camera sleeping is film sessions, weight class, practice, homework, and a lot of applies to liberal college students who have not been getting paid. Hey, I was an attorney. Now I'm a sex worker. I work more now. So now what? People think, lawyers do work very hard. I at least used to have weekends. I don't have weekends anymore. I don't remember the last day I had off. Now I could take time off, but I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to build. And this OnlyFans world is very hustle culture. And these women bust their fucking ass on here, trying to make money, especially in a world, especially trying to make money on platforms that don't want us there, don't want us advertising. I got banned on TikTok today. I work harder now than I did as a lawyer. I work more hours now than I did as a lawyer. Sleeping is not the same as, so sex workers were all just online sleeping? What kind of shit are you into? Film sessions. We do film sessions, weights, class. OnlyFans girls, we got to keep up our appearance. A lot of them do this thing. Practice, homework. You know what I have to do? I film 2 TikToks a day. I film 10 additional TikToks a week. I film a YouTube video a week. I shoot PPV every other day for my OF page. I have all my content ready to go for Reddit every other day, post on all these subreddits on Reddit. I have to post on my regular page, and I do these Twitch streams. I was just on a podcast earlier today. I have another podcast later this week. So how do I not work? I was a college student that didn't get paid. I was a law student that wasn't getting paid. At least now I'm getting paid. So is that part of the problem? It shouldn't be. Should you not be getting paid? Does that make your work more meaningful? I mean, one snap of those milkers makes you more than I make in a week. Maybe, but that doesn't mean that I'm not, like, what is the point there? Right? The money is crazy, but not everyone is successful. That's true. But not everyone is successful at sports. Not everyone is successful at anything. And I wouldn't tell anybody, just like you wouldn't tell anybody, hey, you want to be a pro athlete? Great, you go for it. They're going to be like, there's a chance you won't make it. That's a possibility you have to be aware of. Same thing with sex work. I'm not going to tell every girl they're going to be making as much money as I'm making. It's not feasible. But some people are. I don't have any stigma against these women. I just don't think they are even in the same ballpark as athletes work-wise. You guys, I know a lot of athletes, and they do work hard, but they're not. It seems like they work very hard physically, right? They have strict diets. They get up in the morning, they go to the gym, etc. But just like you get up in the morning and go to work. They maybe have a lot of pressure on them. Lawyers have a lot of pressure on them too. A lot of other jobs have pressure on them. We just, because we're seeing the physical work that they put in, our brains are wired to think that physical work and sweat and that kind of thing means that this person is working really hard, and the janitor that's busting their ass, getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, etc., maybe isn't working as hard. Like, or the sex workers that are waking up and like filming day in, day out. I just told you what my week looks like. I don't have a day off this week, At least athletes get a season off. We don't get that either. People are extremely jealous if you're better than them in any way. I think that is true. I wasn't into OnlyFans, but my lady enjoys watching it together, so it's a win-win. Yeah, there's a lot of people also think like, oh my gosh, everybody on OnlyFans is like cheating. No. You know how many guys, I even have a girl, I just did a sexting session with a girl, and you know how many guys subscribe to me with their girlfriends, and they ask me to like watch their videos to, like, and rate it or whatever. Like, some bitches are chill. I don't judge you, buddy. OnlyFans gang all the way. Off topic, but they need to make OnlyFans better. That website out. Yes. Let's pin this. I agree with this. When are you going to do a BG video? I have a BG video that I'm trying to get up, but OnlyFans needs to approve the other person for me. I don't think this account is real. I think I'm real. How a lot of girls don't even look Instagram ready. I don't know what that means. Oh, we actually got that comment starred. Yes, OnlyFans does need to improve. With the amount of, they're taking 20%. So that means for me, they're taking like tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I'm like, there's no fucking office I would be renting if I had my own law practice that I'd be paying them as much as I'm paying you a month. And you can't even have your servers fucking work. Especially right now. I don't know if it's the same on your guys' end, but if I'm trying to open a message, I cannot do it unless I'm multitasking anymore. I refuse to do it unless I'm multitasking, because I physically cannot sit there and wait for the little, like, it takes 3 minutes to open an entire message for me right now. It's horrible. Oh, sorry for the click. Like, OnlyFans as a consumer is it's a horrible experience for us too. I agree with you there. I think they need to improve that. I'm sorry, it is really, yeah. How have you gotten into OnlyFans? Like, what made you give up your job and do something that is also hated? I did a YouTube video on this that I suggest you check out. So my YouTube is just Jazmen Jafar. If you search it, I did a whole video on this. But I do need to go. I hope you guys found that discussion helpful, useful. Feel free if you guys have some thoughts that come up after. I also talk about literally almost everything. Like, I just follow the structure that I have in my YouTube video that's going to be coming out, and I kind of make the same arguments in the next couple of days. So you can leave a comment there. You can watch that. This is a discussion I want to keep going. What is so bad about sex? What is so taboo or sacred about sex? Tell me what it is. Messages don't load. Purchase content is not in a clear, concise manner. Tip messages don't go through. Sometimes we'll still take your money. I'm with you. And imagine how annoying it is for us as a creator when I'm like trying to start a live stream. I lose a bunch of money because of this experience for you guys. They lose money. You guys, like, it's just, I don't understand. Everybody's losing money. And it's nothing I can do. I mean, we do email them and they're like, our engineers are working hard to adjust it. That's all they say. It's like we literally, as OnlyFans girls, it's a copy pasted message. Our engineers are working really hard to adjust these. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. That's all they say. Okay. And we're always afraid to piss them off because it's like they're like our boss technically. And if you send them a mean message, they have been known to shut down accounts. So I'm just like, hi, excuse me, can you guys please like allow me to do my job? Hold on, give me a second. Hazard sent me a message. I gotta listen to this later. I just opened it in case you were telling me like my clicking or something was annoying. I personally prioritize a long-term relationship with a partner that has motherly qualities and can assist me with raising children. Having one without sexual activity experience doesn't seem like a motherly trait to me. It's offsetting. It seems a big direction. Am I wrong in thinking this? You're not wrong in thinking that, but you don't have. I'm asking for your rationale. We're deep thinkers over here. You can say I want a woman that is motherly and can assist me with raising children, but then you're gonna have to explain why having an OnlyFans means that they're not those things, other than your feeling. I just have a feeling, that I'm not going to accept that in this debate as a good argument, but you can think that you can hate OnlyFans because of any reason. You can hate OnlyFans because it reminds you of a scary purple dragon. You're allowed to think that. You're not wrong in thinking that. You're just not very rational in thinking that, in my opinion. And I don't think that being degenerate, you're going to have to explain where you get your conception or definition of degeneracy or morality. I think people who think like this are more immoral than people who are just living their lives, doing what they want with their bodies as consenting adults. I think people are less moral for judging other people and expecting everybody to align with their values. Like I said, I have never gone to any woman without an OnlyFans and been like, you are a degenerate or you need to start an OnlyFans. It's always the other way around. Oh, their engineers don't work half as hard as watching an OnlyFans girl send a mass message. Oh my God, guys, it is terrible. You need a better cam. I know this is just like a shitty laptop camera. My tech is not my thing, but I'm trying to get better and better at it. Give me time. What's been your favorite part of your transition from lawyer to OnlyFans and mental clarity or being able to be free from closed mindsets? Being able to make money doing what I like and being able to have this platform where I can talk about stuff like this. That is my favorite part. I think because I'm a first-generation immigrant, my mother was with only one partner her entire life. That's the end of I look for a partner. I will tell you this: my my mom is a immigrant, so is my dad, and my mom and dad. My dad was literally her first kiss, everything. And do you know what she always tells me? And this is a story that and my mom is not usually like this. When she was trying to push this onto me when I was growing up, and her and my dad had a fine relationship. There was no abuse. Nobody was yelling or whatever, but she was like, you shouldn't have a boyfriend. You should save yourself till marriage. And I was like, Mom, that's what you did. And that's what all your sisters did. Are you guys happy? She was fucking silent after that. And she even told me, she's like, once you said that, I realized I don't want that for you. Go live your life. I don't want you to do what I did. And maybe other women disagree, but don't think that is one size fits all. And that women who do that because my mom did, because that's what society told her good women do, and she's not happy that she did that. And she doesn't want that for her daughters. Now, she doesn't want her daughters having an OnlyFans. I kind of pushed it there, but you know. So you can look for whatever traits you think make a good mother. But what makes a good mother? Someone who's caring, kind, patient, compassionate, wants the best for their children. I don't understand how me putting my body out online affects that. But if you think so, don't marry me. Don't worry, I wasn't going to marry you either. I'm going to keep that. That's like my favorite comment. People are like, I'm not going to marry you. I'm like, baby, I wouldn't even know you existed. Do you have any thoughts about Palestine and Israel? I support Palestine, and I am totally supporter of the Free Palestine movement. Yeah, I would never impose my standards on all women. Ultimately, women should be free to do whatever they want. It's just my preference in a partner. That's great. And I love that, because not everybody has the same preference, which is good, because I have enough men to choose from. More than enough men. Even after eliminating people like you, I still have to find other factors to eliminate. Let's go, Free Palestine. Yep, I'm with you. All right, anything else, guys, before I leave? Going once, going twice. All right, sounds good. Watch out for my YouTube channels. Follow my YouTube, follow my Instagram, follow my OnlyFans, follow my Snap. Follow me everywhere.